Hello everyone, I'm Darrel Blake. I will be talking about the reality and the importance of Black studies. My sister, please. We're going to look at the role of academia, but also the role of university. What is the purpose of university? What is the reason as to why we go to university? What is the main core factors and attributes of a university? And what's appealing about going to university that makes everyone want to go to university? My sister. The thing about university as a kid growing up, I'm from London, and I grew up in an area called Brixton. Now, I can say out of all my friends, I know a lot of people, out of all my friends, I'm the only one from Brixton anyway that's gone to university. I was the only one that went to college. I was the only one that managed to get 13 GCSEs, A to C. Now, I can say, let's randomly, out of 40 of my friends, 12 are in jail, 2 are doing life, 1's dead. That's the reality of and the nature of where I come from. Now, me standing here, being a part of Black Studies and being a part of the Bless Centre, I'm doing something that shouldn't be done based upon where I come from. Now, Black Studies has kind of given me the platform to find out who I am, my identity, to discover where my purpose is in racist Britain, or as Piers Morgan has called it, perfect Britain. Sister, let's go right. Now, before I play you this clip, what Black Studies does as well, it makes you pinpoint places around the globe and focus on the African diaspora. So, you can talk about the continent, but it's always also important to talk about the outside. And then when we start to look at the outside, we unpack the disadvantages and the inequalities that we face as Black and brown people. But then we also question and we critique things like, when did this happen? Some people say university's racist, yeah, we know. Oh, okay, colleges are racist. Yeah, we know. Okay, great. Secondary schools are racist. Great, we know. But we have to also look at, when did this really start to begin? When did the minds of the Black and brown people they start to be challenged? Where in history does it show that the mechanisms are working to kind of like shuffle little Black and brown kids along? So here's an example. Here's a test called the Dole test. Some of you may know it. For those that don't, there's a Dole test that was done in the 1940s in America. Basically, there was a gentleman who wanted to test the psychology of the children to see about identity. Now, this is more of a recent one, more of a modern one, but you can kind of get a feel for it. So, could you
which doll is the black doll? And which one is the white doll? Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and he has 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
Which doll looks most like you?
Okay.
Yeah, which one looks like you?
And that one.
innocent children. They don't know that they have fallen under the dreams and the desires of our imperialists. There's a gentleman named Howard Becker in 1963 wrote a book called Outsiders. He says social groups create deviance by making rules whose infraction constitutes deviance, and by applying those rules to particular people and labeling them as outsiders. From this point of view, deviance is not quality of the act of the person commits, but rather a consequence of the application by others of rules and sanctions to an offender. this gentleman here coined the term labelling theory. Basically, to put it more simpler, because it's quite long-winded, if you tell a child they're stupid long enough, they'll start to believe it. Now, we tend to do that a lot, especially with younger children. Oh, you're naughty, oh, you're naughty, oh, you're naughty. Let's look at the word naughty. You take off the Y, it's naught. Naught's another word for zero. So you're always telling your child, you're nothing, you're nothing, you're nothing. But we start to play on these things. But we don't know the psychological effect of telling someone they are something. It's easy to be on the opposite side pointing, but to be on the receiving end of it is bad. My grandma, before she passed away, always used to tell me, never point at people. I was like, why do you want to point? She goes, when you're pointing at someone, you're one finger pointing that way and three pointing back at you. So before you say something to someone, you should always check yourself. Just to go right again for me. If they start to believe that, which they probably will, just the way our society works for them, that will have a sense of, well, it will kind of knock their confidence. The philosopher Bertrand Russell wrote, the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves and wiser people so full of doubts. There's a common thing that happens within the black community, especially when we're in spaces like this, what we call them white spaces, is a sense of confidence. We feel like we shouldn't be here. We feel like, should I dress a certain way? My mum speaks 3 languages. One is Bayesian, she's from Barbados. The other one is just normal colloquial language where she's from. And she has a telephone voice. So my mum, you can call my house and you wouldn't think it's my mum. You won't think she's black, she's as dark as me. You won't think she's black because she's, hello, hi, Barbara here. Hey, Barbara. Barbara here, yes, sure, definitely. She talks like that. When you see her, like, it's the same woman. So there's a common phenomenon that happens within the black community. We've got to have different voices. Like, when I've applied for jobs, Darrel Blake, yeah, let's check him out. Let's get him in for an interview. I've got a telephone voice as well. And I turn up, I'm like, hi, I'm Darrel Blake. They're like, okay, yeah, take a seat. And I already can tell I'm not going to get the job. It's quite sad. Because that has a sense of, like, it knocks my confidence a lot. But Black Studies has helped me to unpack that. Now, the attainment gap at Grade CU, where we're from, is 10.3% of black students fail within their first year. So just over 1 in 10 students. I don't know how you can count 0.3, maybe a person and a leg or something like that. But fail. So when the studies came out, research was done as to why. We looked at why, and we found the common denominator across the research was something called imposter syndrome. Something as simple as that. This image, quite frankly, tells you what it is. Being in a space where you don't feel included. Being in a space where you can't share your culture, identities and ideologies. You can't express in a way where you feel comfortable. My sister at the back there, she's got lovely hair. I know someone who's got same volume of hair. In many spaces, she's felt like she's had to change her hairstyle because people want to touch it or they're going to be, how does it work? How does it stay afloat? How do you defy gravity? These questions happen. But then also that can knock your confidence as well. That's just a bit right. This image here is perfect when it comes to identifying who you are against what is being told to you. Talent versus ability. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. First person, who's going to be successful at climbing that tree? Anyone?
Monkey.
Donkey.
Why the monkey?
Because they climb trees.
Right, so the exam is perfect for that, I don't say individual, for that animal. But this is how sometimes people feel that imposter syndrome because they're in spaces and they do tests and exams and they go into areas where they don't feel confident because they feel like, I can't do that because it doesn't suit me, it's not for me. Which is quite sad, but that's the way it's shaped. If you look at the first IQ test that was done in Britain, I think it was ridiculous in terms of the numbers, but black people done poorly. This was done like 40 years ago. Done poorly until they re-examined the IQ test and saw that it was just so biased. So it's like, for example, my other side is Jamaican, so it's like me going into a space, Sussex University, saying we're going to have an exam. Someone or anyone tell me the ingredients to make jerk chicken. A lot of people are going to be like, but most of you lot will fail. not because you're dumb or stupid, it's because you can't fit into that, because like, huh, what's that about? And that happens to a lot of people where I come from, where they feel that they can't connect, whether it's bad teaching, bad mentoring, or the social constructs that they're in, makes them feel that they're inadequate to learn. You all right? Now, go ahead. That way. In closing, does anybody know how many professors there are in the UK? Anyone know? You know? You know? Do you know? Alright. There's roughly around 19,000 professors in the UK. 19,000. For the black people in the room, out of 19,000, how many of them are black?
86.
86. What have you got up there? I'm going to ask you, yep?
Every particular male and female.
Yep.
Like 90.
I think 85.
My brother there on the Mac?
I have no idea.
No idea? No problem. Let's turn it into a graph. Here's a pie chart. Here's the breakdown of the professors in the UK, done by Advanced HE. Out of 19,000, over 14,000 are white men. Let's go back to the other end. Only 25 are black women. That's poor. So when we were talking about imposter syndrome, in terms of seeing yourself in spaces where you can elevate yourself and learn and see culture and see resemblance, like, hey, I want to aspire to be you. If you're suffering from imposter syndrome and in the curriculum you're also learning, with that shows you that you're stupid, how do you expect to thrive? Let's just get rid of colour, first and foremost. Let's just talk about male and female. Women in the room. Look at that. That's poor. That is so poor. You don't deserve much more. I think you lot can, besides Theresa May, you lot can do a great, perfect job at running the country, and you lot don't get enough credit for, you know, the commitment you've put in to just being here and looking after men. Like, we don't deserve you, trust me, we don't. I'm a feminist myself. We don't. That's the reality of it, you know. And then black women is poor because you lot are at the bottom of the scale, always been from colonial times till now. And these are the sort of things that we need to recognise. And university are the space that we have these conversations, where we can sit down and say, hey, this don't make sense, this doesn't add up. What can we do? But events like this is fantastic, where we can highlight these statistics and figures and be like, oh, okay, cool, and apply it. Because there are little voices that can't be heard. There's little boys and girls where I come from that they're not even dreaming of going to university. They're just, okay, I just want to be a plumber, or I want to be such, and that's it. Because they don't aspire to be anything else. They don't focus on their strengths. So in closing, we've had to look at that, because Einstein once said, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will go its whole life thinking it's stupid. Thank you.